I didn't even know that a modern day Western movie was even possible. And now that I see that it is, Hollywood, we need some more. Hell or High Water. Hell or High Water is the newest Western crime drama written by Taylor Sheridan, the guy who brought us Sicario, and starring Chris Pine, Ben Foster, and Jeff Bridges. Chris Pine and Ben Foster play two brothers who are going on this bank robbing spree throughout these small towns in West Texas as they try to come up with enough money to save their family's ranch from foreclosure, especially once they find out that the land that they own is actually sitting on a whole bunch of oil. Okay, so it's not often that we get a lot of movies set in modern day Texas, and I felt as though this movie captured that Texan atmosphere perfectly. This is a rich, original, character-driven story with some of the best performances of this year, while every aspect of this movie is interesting and brimming with authenticity. Chris Pine delivers one of his best performances to date that makes you root for his character the entire way through. Ben Foster is also incredible in this movie. I really don't know how this guy goes from being one of the worst characters in one of the worst movies of this year to potentially being a candidate for a freaking Oscar. That's impressive. The brotherly chemistry between these two is there. You can feel years upon years of history between these two characters. There's just so much nuance between these two performances that makes them so entertaining to watch. Now for me, this movie also felt a bit reminiscent of the Boondock Saints. And that's awesome. They will kill for each other, they will die for each other, and they'll just be there and be brotherly assholes to one another. This movie is more about family, brotherhood, and then that fine line between right and wrong as you fight for something you believe is just. Seeing these prideful, old-school Texan values and nuances makes this movie so refreshing and engaging to watch. I feel as though rural Texas is a place people don't really know a lot about and honestly don't get to see a lot of in movies, so it just makes this movie even more interesting. And although both of the brothers are incredibly well acted and the entire ensemble is realistic and memorable to the point where it honestly just felt like they took native Texans off the street, Jeff Bridges absolutely stole this movie for me. His performance as this seasoned sheriff that's on his way out to retirement is just so captivating in every single scene that he's in, and he brings a lot of that stereotypical Texan humor that we were expecting, while also just grounding this movie with his authenticity. It was really interesting to watch these police try to pinpoint where these robbers were going to strike next, but what I felt like this movie actually did really well was they showed us all the things that we don't think about that police do or have to do in order to catch these bad guys, all of their downtime basically. Usually we think, okay, the bad guy strikes and the cops have to find some information, then chase them down, eventually they meet, there's going to be some shootout, and then the movie ends. That's usually the basic formula. But this movie actually takes the time to show us how these rangers interact with all the people that they're trying to protect, while also showing us all the things that these rangers do during their downtime as they wait for something to happen. A really good example of this in this movie is that there is this diner scene that is just so minor that ends up being hysterical, while also providing a lot of characterization to everybody in that scene, as well as the setting as a whole. And I love stuff like that, just small scenes or small hints or small pieces of personality that help ground the audience in this world. And I feel as though one of the biggest reasons why these characters feel so authentic and why every word is interesting to listen to is because honestly, the writing for this movie, especially in terms of dialogue, is some of the best writing of this year. Every word in this movie contains some type of value that adds to characterization or is just entertaining to listen to. The action scenes in this movie are great and suspenseful and just really well directed with some awesome cinematography. And I love seeing all these very specific character choices and nuances during these heated conflicts that shows just how strong both the performances and the directing actually are. Now this isn't an action-packed movie, but when things do start to go down, they are really well done and really exciting, and they're just a welcome change of pace. The very few issues I had with this movie had to do with the lack of backstory, because this movie does choose to begin in the middle of the action rather than slowly building up these characters and the plot. I felt as though they needed to find some ways to show us just exactly how these brothers got in this specific situation, and what was the final straw that led them to this path of robbery. I just felt like they would have provided some even more interesting scenes while providing some easy character building along the way. I also felt like this movie waited a little bit too long before they finally revealed some of the reasons why they were going on this robbing spree. But hey, better to get some answers eventually than just not at all. And a lot of these answers were actually held off to the very end, which granted did allow us to witness some more great acting and great dialogue, but there were at least 2 moments in this movie where I thought, okay, this movie's probably about to wrap up and finish now, and then it just went on a tad longer than it needed to. Nothing tiresome, but it was still really noticeable. Guys, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this is easily one of my favorite movies of this year. This is definitely another hidden gem, not only for summer, but for the entire year. Incredible acting, great writing, great directing, great setting, and just something undeniably fresh and entertaining. And for all these reasons, I'm gonna give Hell or High Water a 9 out of 10. Hell or High Water. Have you seen it? Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section below. And while you're at it, let me know what your favorite Western is. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. It truly does mean a lot. If you like this video, don't forget to hit like. And if you want to stick around and watch some more movie reviews, well, hey, hit subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.